Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Steve with Sensus Fidelium coming at you at 10:38 p.m. Friday, 12th, December 5th. 12. I was reading the numbers 12/5. December 5th, 2025. Saint Sabbas feast day, commemoration of Saint Sabbas, to be completely 100% accurate. Sorry, this is so late. This is almost like TGIF, or I don't know, we might run into tomorrow morning. If I really let this go, we could actually get into Saturday morning. Let's go ahead and start right to it. Thanks for being with us right now. The Pentagon is now rolling out Santa on an armed vehicle at the U.S. Department of War building. Santa and soldiers debuting atop a tactical vehicle while families and kids look on. This is a classic soft power militarization and turning war machinery into something festive, harmless, family friendly. It's a recruiting tool disguised as a holiday event. It's the same psychological formula used for decades. Make military hardware feel safe, fun, normal, fun, look fun, associated with children, holidays, and community gatherings. In a year when Washington is running covert wars, expanding drone campaigns, and escalating in multiple regions, scenes like this aren't accidental. War, but make it festive. Here's some perfect stuff from Clown News. The most anti-Semite of the Year award goes to Mrs. Rachel, all because she dared to have somebody or have a Gaza kid that got her legs blown off on her program and give her a hug. Mrs. Rachel has been declared Anti-Semite of the Year because she dared to humanize a Palestinian child that was dismembered by Israel. As he goes, this is Rahief, the 3-year-old little girl. She lost both legs in an Israeli airstrike, and the joy in her eyes disappeared. Her childhood was taken away by Israel. She was lucky. She was one of the lucky survivors of the 20,000 kids killed in Gaza, despite losing both her legs. Ms. Rachel shared her story. For that, she's being attacked. This is who the Zionists labeled as an anti-Semite or anti-Semitic, and kept attacking just because she cares about the Gaza kids. As Miss Rachel is a real human being and stands on the right side of history. I agree with her. Here's the Stop Anti-Semitism X account. It's that time of the year, the 2025 Anti-Semite of the Year. Vote for your top 5 candidates by Friday, December 12th. Top 10 finalists. I don't know who Bryce Mitchell, the guy Christensen, but Miss Rachel, Tucker Carlson, Cynthia Nixon, St. Ugar, Ann Kasparian, Stu Peters, Caleb Walsh. Ladies and gentlemen that follow, and all you others on here, we got to step our games up. We're not even close to we didn't crack the top 10. I need to get some. I should have interviewed a buddy of mine that's from Palestine. I guess I would have made the top 10 maybe. I didn't know all you had to do is get somebody on. Here's Anna Kasparian defending Miss Rachel using IDF's own data. You know what? I'll go ahead and let her speak her mind. Speak it, woman, speak it. Oh, I'm not. I know there's some out there probably don't get upset that somebody is speaking, but let me go ahead.
Unwise of Miss Rachel to be so outspoken.
The days of Zionists bullying Americans into silence is over. No. I get to respond to that. Let's talk about data from the IDF, the IDF's internal data. Israeli papers got a hold of the IDF's internal data in regard to civilian casualties in Gaza. And their own data indicates 83% of people slaughtered in Gaza, 83% are civilians. IDF just shot and killed an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old in Gaza, claiming that they had crossed the yellow line when no such thing happened. And they tried to make it seem as though an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old are literal militants deserving of the type of slaughter they were met with. What's amazing to me is the dehumanization of every human life that isn't Israeli or isn't in favor of what that disgusting genocidal government is up to.
So you didn't hear the first part. He asked, "Is it wrong on Miss Rachel to speak out?" And this is her singing. they pretend to sleep and things like that. I didn't see the whole program, but yeah, Miss Rachel. And yeah, here's the woman to put Miss Sink. Here's the video on this coming up here soon. Here's Miss Rachel herself. I never thought I'd go on TV and beg for children not to be intentionally starved, and that would be controversial. That's exactly right. You go out there and say we shouldn't be killing kids, or we shouldn't be starving these kids, or we should be popping them two in the head. Then you get the fangs of the Zionists come out. You anti-Semite, you hate. Literally, we're dealing with children out there. Horrific, and not just the children that are getting killed. We're dealing with children that are into politics and that are in control of things. Or people online that can't even fathom to think, and all they can see back is anti-Semite. Here's I'll put it on James Lee. Let him. He'll explain who that person is, who leads the anti-Semitism website. Again, I'll go ahead and let his own words do the talking.
Take a look at that 990 again. We see the address, 15910 Ventura Boulevard, Unit 700, Encino, California, 91436. And that address is registered to none other than one Adam Milstein. Okay, we got a familiar name here. We are definitely on the right track. And 15910 Ventura Boulevard, Unit 700, per Google Street View, looks to be inside this nice-looking modern high-rise. So then I looked up the tenancy records to see that Unit 700 belongs to a Hager Pacific. Well, turns out Hager Pacific is a commercial real estate firm owned by Adam Milstein. Boom. Now everything makes total sense, right? These rabbit holes, sometimes they do lead us somewhere, which is that an advocacy group, Stop Antisemitism, is funded by, it turns out, a mysterious nonprofit that is funded by Israel, the Morona Family Foundation.
I watched the whole thing. It's about 8-9 minutes long. Very good. He gets in right into it. But yes, shocking that you're not shocked. Let's see. Speaking of, here's Andrew Napolitano on antiwar.com. Murder for Christmas. When Tech Deaf Pete Hezek posted a meme of Franklin the Turtle, the amiable children's cartoon character in a helicopter using a military weapon to kill people in a small boat below him, and caption it for your Christmas wish. It understandably caused an uproar. Should SecDef be mocking the people his troops have killed? Should he engage a child's cartoon character to produce this mockery? Should anyone in his right mind who professes to understand Christianity suggest that this killing should be on the child's Christmas wish list? Should he be killing nonviolent boat people? And he gets into it. Here's the backstory. It's a good little read. Check it out if you want. It'll be in the show notes. I mean, while we're here, let's go ahead and do that. War Pigs edition right off the bat a little early. Generals singing in their masses, just like witches up like masses. U.S. blows up another boat in Latin America. Hedsec ousted admiral who raised concerns over the boat strikes, because if you speak ill about it, you just go. Video U.S. military killing boat survivors is horrifying, says lawmakers. Venezuela's Maduro confirms he held cordial call with DJT. Israeli-backed gang leader killed in Gaza. Netanyahu, Israel's war is never ending. I thought that was a peace thing. Somebody told me it was a peace treaty. I must have been watching Saturday Night Live. Israel building new separation barriers through Palestinian land. Sigar, S-I-G-A-R, rips failed Afghanistan war at last report. Volunteers dire warnings about National Guard shooting suspect. AFRICOM wants to intensify the Somali war. Israeli airstrikes pound Lebanon a day after talks. That's what they do. You talk and then they blow you up. Intellexa leaks reveal wider reach of predator spyware. I would show you the entire link of this, but there's a couple questionable ads on the side, and then want to scandalize everybody and seeing what you had to see if you click it. But this is about Waltz rolls out a taxpayer-funded paid leave for illegals. That's probably why he's going to lose to the pillow guy, which unless there's just nobody in DC or Minnesota that has half a brain anymore. I know there's Waltz, there's no way this guy could win anything. I mean, glad that pillow guy is doing it because like Rick and I talked about yesterday, there's other guys that could have ran, but they decided to go to DC for some unknown reason. It's the fame and the fortune. Stay home. You're in Minnesota, fix Minnesota. Forget about DC. Democratic Maine Representative Decca Delac says her goal in U.S. government is to secure American taxpayer funding for Somalia. That right there should make somebody like that just all right. You don't belong. You've been kicked out of your job. That's not your vow. That's not your goal. That's not your mission as a federal U.S. representative. We're in the state of Maine. I guess that would be the Maine. I guess that'd be she's in the U.S. Senate. Is it? She can leave to his. I don't even know where she is. South Portland, Maine selects country's first Somali mayor. Okay, South Portland, Maine selects country's first Somali mayor. Hey, if you want to, is she either way? If she's state representative or federal representative, I don't know how that gets through, but still, I mean, secession is an option. Supreme Court will hear Trump birthright citizenship case because much of they bring up about the 14th Amendment has been brought up a lot recently. It would be fantastic if something like this gets the 14th. That'd be amazingly great. Like, hey, I hate to see you lose the 14th and then everything else that goes away with it. Please, if illegals can help get rid of the 14th, what do you want us to do? How can we help? This psychotic response is basically purely on trusting the government. I saw the same behavior after 9/11 in justifying war crimes and the destruction of freedoms and worse during COVID to justify the destruction of people's lives. It only gets more sickening with time, and I, for one, refuse to be desensitized to a point of ever pretending this is normal and not utterly repugnant. Here's Megyn Kelly. I'll let her tell you what she thinks about killing people on the open seas. Because remember, she's a Christian.
Really do kind of not only want to see them killed in the water, whether they're on the boat or in the water, but I'd really like to see them suffer. I would like Trump and Hegseth to make it last a long time so that they lose a limb and bleed out a little. Like, I'm really having a difficult time ginning up sympathy for these guys who 10 seconds earlier almost got taken out by the initial bomb, but because they managed to get ejected, a little too soon, had to be taken out in the water. I realize legally it may make a difference, but truly, Mark, this is a tough case to really gin up the sympathies of the American people.
Yeah. I mean, Mamma Mia, I'm in the wrong button. I'm trying to get the share screen thing back. Poor Megan. The Pentagon keeps saying that every boat they strike saves 25,000 American lives. They now have hit 21 boats. This is from 3 days ago, which would be 525,000 Americans saved using their math. Except fewer than 100,000 die from overdoses every year, and very few of them are from cocaine alone. There's the U.S. drug overdose deaths involving cocaine by opioid involvement, 1999 to 2023. Here's Love Your Bro. Should there be almost no deaths from drug overdoses now, since we have the most secure borders in history and 90% of the illegal drugs come through Mexico? Then we should be close to zero, right? Or am I missing something in Ryan Grimm? And yet, here's Jason Zaharis. The U.S. is now targeting 6 Caribbean, Central, and South American nations with military aggression and a long planned and coordinated assault on Latin American sovereignty planned by Marco Rubio and approved by Trump. Here are the details for each. This is if you don't know this is the big stick one. This is Teddy during a takeover of Panama. This is in the book Yankee Empire. I've seen this one before. And he's going after everybody here. This is before he takes over Panama and seize Panama from Colombia. There's a couple good cartoons in there. This is the carry the big stick in the Caribbean thing. He was all about that. Venezuela. Since August, U.S. ships and planes have built up in the southern Caribbean near the Venezuelan coast, carrying out almost daily deadly provocations, including drones of illegal airstrikes, murdering at least 87 Venezuelans, Colombians, and Trinidadians, whom the Trump administration alleged with zero proof are transporting drugs to these United States, which in itself would still be no justification for the bombings. Expert organizations like Inside Crime have proved that Venezuela accounts for absolutely zero of narcotics trafficking in Latin America. Most narcotics are transported through Ecuador, where the U.S.-backed President Daniel Noboa has direct ties to cocaine trafficking and has refused to crack down on the Sinaloa cartel. They are then shipped to these United States through Pacific routes. Trump and his allies later admitted that they are targeting Maduro for regime change so they can take control of Venezuela's sovereign oil and mineral resources before selling them off to U.S. corporations. Maria Corina Machado, a U.S.-backed puppet, has already declared, he's also the Peace Prize winner, that her intention is if she rides the power on the back of the U.S. tank, it could also cut off the major source of oil shipments to Cuba, further strangling the Caribbean island nation in the face of decades-long U.S. embargo. The USS Gerald Ford strike carrier fleet has now been deployed, and Trump is threatening strikes on Venezuela at any moment. He has already approved covert action inside the country by the CIA, who have already attacked Venezuelan energy infrastructure. Meanwhile, the U.S. maintains widespread sanctions on the Venezuelan economy in order to starve the people into submission by withholding food and medicine, which has now killed as many as 100,000 people. However, the U.S. will face stiff opposition. The Venezuelan people are trained in guerrilla warfare, armed to the teeth by BRICS powers, and 82% have said they are willing to defend their country with arms if the U.S. attacks. Cuba. Regime change in Havana has been the ultimate goal of every U.S. administration for 65 years, as the Cuban Revolution remains the inspiration for all the Latin American and entire global South for its costly but successful resistance to U.S. imperialism's efforts to enslave the island to the financial interests of Wall Street. The U.S. has condemned the Cuban people to genocide through a 65-year-old trade and travel embargo and planned to carry out several false flag terror attacks through Operation Northwoods and Mongoose. It is particular obsession Marco Rubio, whose parents were Miami Cuban Guisanos. He often lies, claiming that they fled the Communist Party's regime, but they actually fled the U.S.-backed military dictator Fulgencio Batista. Nicaragua, another successful example of resistance to the Monroe Doctrine. The U.S. has been targeting the Sandinistas ever since they first came to power in 1979 through financing the Contra terrorists in the 1980s, which was largely done through cocaine trafficking, and later attempted color revolutions funded by USAID and the NED in the late 2010s. Nicaragua has not only been an example of the successful revolution against U.S. exploitation, but Managua has also been one of the loudest voices opposing the NATO proxy war against Russia. Trump recently imposed another round of tariffs on Nicaragua in the hopes that they will strangle the country's economy. Mexico. Claudia Sheinbaum, Jewish descent, has been increasingly standing up to the U.S. aggression, becoming one of the loudest voices against military action in Venezuela and challenging the U.S. embargo on Cuba by constructing an air and energy corridor linking Havana to Moscow. In response, the U.S. backed the failed color revolution against the Mexican president through a vast network of interest NGOs linked to USAID and the National Endowment for Democracy, such as the Atlas Network and Animal Politico. Ricardo Salinas Pelago, the Mexican billionaire with a large media empire who was recently humiliated and forced to pay billions in taxes, which has now caused him to hold a grudge against the Mexican government. Mexico's right-wing opposition parties, PAN, PRI, etc., including party leaders and even former U.S.-backed neoliberal President Vicente Fox, whose administration had close ties with the Sinaloa cartel. The Latin American right wing, such as Javier Milei's Argentina, don't cry for me, Argentina, and the global right wing, such as Francoist ideologues in Spain and Gusanos in Miami, who support regime change in Cuba and Venezuela. Trump has also recently threatened Mexico with military action, alleging that Sheinbaum is in with the cartels, even though she has presided over a crackdown on the drug crime that has led to tens of thousands of arrests, dozens of deportations, seizure of vast quantities of illicit substances, mass disruption of cartel operations. Colombia, Trump falsely accused President Gustavo Petro of being a drug lord before cutting off aid to the country. Meanwhile, Rubio's State Department ensured that former right-wing President Alvaro Uribe was cleared of the charges he was facing for credible links to narcotics trafficking, alleging that he was being persecuted by Petro's government. So as they accuse Petro of facilitating narcotics trafficking, Washington is actively involved in protecting drug lords in Colombia from going to prison. Petro has been one of the largest opponents in Latin America against the U.S. intervention in Venezuela and has called for the establishment of an armed United Nations peacekeeping force to prevent Israel from carrying out further genocide against the Palestinians in Gaza. This conflict between Washington and Bogota may well escalate into military action or another regime change operation. Yeah, because can't have them doing that to us. Haiti, the U.S. is converting and complementing its Kenyan-led proxy multinational security support, MSS if you're nasty, troops with 4,500 more soldiers, including its own, to create a gang suppression force, GSF, which will wage war against what it calls gangs, such as the revolutionary forces of the G9. However, every time I say however, I think of Stephen A. Smith. Who they are really waging war against are poor but armed Haitian neighborhoods, demanding revolution against an unstable government in Port-au-Prince, appointed by State Department-aligned NGOs. And this is before we get to the fact that Blackwater mercenaries are now being deployed to crush any rebellion by the Haitian people. It's finished. All these theaters of conflict are linked to each other. What we are witnessing is an attempt by the U.S. to revive the Monroe Doctrine and is willing to carry out a second Operation Condor in order to do so. How's everybody in there? She also has ties with BlackRock. Yeah, pretty much all of them do. There sound like 40-some people killed to get her in office. Yeah. And none of these guys are saints. Saying all this is just like saying this does not mean Claudia Sheinbaum good. Yeah, just like anything else, it's not a false dichotomy. If you're against, it's like the whole Gaza. If you're against Israel, that means you're for Hamas. No, man. Or if you're against Zelensky, then you must be for Putin. No, that's not how that works. Where we go. Levitt. The people of Honduras have highlighted to him how the former President Hernandez was set up. This was a clear Biden over persecution, over prosecution. How does she say this without an open face? Yeah, as he says, yes, this was a prosecution developed by the professionals at the DOJ with seemingly little political interference at the time, despite DHS's ongoing support for JOH. Here's Chad Wolf praising JOH in 2020 after his brother had already been convicted. There was the first Trump administration which developed the cases against President Hernandez. His brother, Tony Hernandez, was indicted in 2018 and convicted in 2019. And key ally Giovanni Fuentes Ramirez was indicted in 2020. Both were later sentenced to life in prison. And now we're bailing him out. Saying, he was the cocaine guy that had got convicted of 45 years in jail. Now we just gave him a pardon. But hey, it's Maduro's the bad guy. Keep calm and carry on. WBD's David Zaslav and Netflix's Greg Peters tell nervous staff to stay focused amidst the beginning of a new possibilities merger. So what happened is Warner Brothers and Netflix are now merging. If we unite our powers. David Ellison makes his case to the White House as Netflix bill for WBD, Warner Brothers distribution, edges out Paramount Skydance. You remember good old David Ellison, remember? Taliban forced young boy to conduct execution as 80,000 watch in stadium. A man was publicly executed in the stadium in Afghanistan on Tuesday, with the Taliban forcing a 13-year-old boy to carry out the act. Here's a little bit on Prospera, and it goes, Prospera is a test run backed by the same billionaire investors pushing freedom cities in these United States, propped up by Trump's party and allies, and designed as a model for future land grabbing many states ran by tech elites. This is all about stuff going on in Honduras. I'll go and play just a little bit so you get an idea. I won't play the whole thing because wrong button.
Remember the date for the overlap of the transition of the Honduras government and recognize, like I've been saying the entire time, that ultimately they regime changed the government, which they did. That's the U.S. government. It's on the record. I mean, they deny it, but it's a very provable discussion. I think it was 2009. They overthrew the government regime change in order to allow Mark Andreessen and Teal to begin this special autonomous zone right out of the Sustainable Development Goals, create a special zone independent from the government despite what they want, and to start their own little technocratic hellscape. That's how I describe it. And in 2021, or rather, my point was in between that time, they arguably lost control of the Honduras government. That's what I was looking into it further. Plenty of other argued the same in their own arguments about foreign policy. And that's why the current government does not want Prospera and actually has fought to push it out and has revoked all of their influence. And they're suing them for it. But they're not leaving despite it currently being illegal, because I have been saying that they're waiting for the new government that the U.S. puts in place to allow them to continue. So 2021 is very relevant for when they started construction, because they began building and all this started to transition, and they've continued regardless of what the law says, and are hoping that they put the U.S. government allows the legal structure, or make it simple. They put a government in place that allows them to keep doing what they're doing. So it says, although they are currently involved in a massive lawsuit against the state of Honduras, Prospera has expanded and is developing another ZEDE, or however they pronounce it. It's a special autonomous zone on a port location on the mainland. Prospera has stated, quote, Prospera's announcement of the port of Satui nearshoring hub in Honduras is a game changer for the nearshoring movement in the Western Hemisphere. Understand, the Honduras government has said this is illegal, and they're expanding, they're building new ports. And so literally they're stealing land from the Honduras government, from people of Honduras. They were allowed this location, which was done through illegal action in the first place. Now, even if you don't agree with that, the new government says no, they've revoked their allowance and they're just expanding. This is colonialism, guys. This is expansionism. They're growing and seizing territory. This is globalism. It's everything we're talking about. Prospera's effort to commandeer the strategic trade location and set up an economic headquarters demonstrates that their ambitions for Honduras go well beyond what they call crypto tourism. Prospera is also looking to set up cities in Africa as Prospera Africa, based on the same model. Guys, this is the globalist overlap. This is technocracy, globalism, Zionism is built into this. It's all right in front of you. And so all those three things are clearly intersecting with what this all is. I'm telling you, it's right out of the globalist sort of great reset, all of this stuff. And also the overlap, like we just showed you, to the 15-minute digit. This is what it all is. Freedom City, digital 15-minute city. This special economic zone was set up to allow them to be sort of independent from the country in which they operate. Why would any government or country agree to that? According to the Latin America Working Group, the ZEDE is a, quote, fancy term to cover up the fact that foreign investors, and this is important, can buy territory and hold complete control over a large portion of land within the state of Honduras. Whoa, okay. So now we're literally talking about colonialism from foreign powers through the argument that what you're doing is giving them libertarian freedom. And really? So recognize whether it's happening in Honduras or in the middle of the ocean or in Washington, D.C., what it opens the door for is foreign investment to control land within the United States. Trump's the one talking about freedom cities. They're the ones funding freedom cities, and here's what they're building. It's very easy to see. That's not a secret, by the way. And so what you're allowing is foreign investors that can buy U.S. territory and hold complete control over that territory. But let's just go ahead and pretend that's America first, okay? Founders, investors, and proponents of the ZEDEs market them as sovereign, free market cities operating outside of Honduran law and governance for the purpose of foreign development and innovation.
All right, I'll just go ahead. I mean, it goes on for 7 minutes. I mean, or a couple 2 minutes left. Anyways, let's go right to it. Oh, let's go. WHO. Am I still there? Yeah. WHO Gates Blueprint for Global Digital ID, AI-driven surveillance, and lifelong vaccine tracking for every person. Automated cradle-to-grave traceability for identifying and targeting the unreached. In a document published in the October Bulletin for the World Health Organization and funded by the Gates Foundation, the World Health Organization is proposing a global interoperable digital identity infrastructure that permanently tracks every individual's vaccination status from birth. The dystopian proposal raises far more than privacy and autonomy concerns. It establishes the architecture for government overreach, cross-domain profiling, AI-driven behavior targeting, conditional access to services, and a global interpretable surveillance grid tracking individuals. It also creates unprecedented risk in data security, accountability, and mission creep, enabling the digital control system that reaches into every sector of life. The proposed system integrates personally identifiable information with socioeconomic data such as household income, ethnicity, and religion, deploys AI for identifying and targeting the unreached and combating misinformation, enables governments to use vaccination records as prerequisites for education, travel, and other services. What the WHO document admits in their own words, digital transformation is the intentional systematic implementation of integrated digital applications that change how governments plan, execute, and measure and monitor programs. They openly state the purpose. This transition can accelerate progress towards the Immunization Agenda 2030, which aims to ensure that everyone, everywhere, at every age fully benefits from jabs. Yeah, birth registry, digital identity, and lifelong tracking. When birth notification trigger is set up in a personal digital immunization record, health workers know who to vaccinate before the child's first contact with services. A newborn whose electronic immunization record is populated with personality, identifiable information benefits from health because health workers can retrieve their records through unique identifiers and demographic details. Linking records to income, ethnicity, religion, social programs. Conditioning access to schooling, travel, and services on digital vaccine proof. Using digital systems to prevent wasting vaccine on already immune children. AI systems to target individuals, identify unreached, and combat misinformation. They remember doing that during 2020 times. Global interoperability standards for the international data exchange, surveillance expansion to everyday interactions. CHWs who identify children during home visits and other community activities can refer them for vaccination through the electronic immunization registry or electronic child health record. Describe cross-service integration. Under-vaccinated children can be reached when CHWs and facility-based providers providing other services collaborate and communicate around individual children in the same electronic child health records. Bottom line, in the WHO's own words, digital transformation is a unique opportunity to address many longstanding challenges in immunization. Now is the time for bold new approaches, and stakeholders should embrace digital transformation as an enabler for achieving the ambitious Immunization Agenda 2030 goals. Don't worry, you remember Trump had Bill Gates over for lunch like 3 times already, and they all had a great time during it. Yay. Home visits, yeah, who's invited him? I don't know. Yeah, if anybody comes knocking on the door and says we're in the government, you go, no, you're not coming in. How can AI serve the common good and not just the powerful Pope Leo XIV? Response, I'm beat. Sorry. We're trying to pull through. This came in earlier today, I think it was. Leo XIV reflected December 5th at the Vatican on the challenges posed by AI during a meeting with members of the Santissimus Annus Pro Pontifice Foundation and participants in the Strategic Alliance of Catholic Research Universities. In his address, the Holy Father pointed out that AI affects certain essential characteristics of the human person, such as critical thinking, discernment, learning, and interpersonal relationships. For the pontiff, this has a real impact on the lives of millions and millions of people every day and in every part of the world. Quote, how can we ensure that the development of AI truly serves the common good and is not just used to accumulate wealth and the power of the hands of the few? Our dignity he has lies in the ability to reflect, choose freely, love unconditionally, and enter into authentic relationships with others. Here is a man has his life saved by Grok from XAI after a ruptured appendix. Quote, I'm 49, 2025 has been the best year of my life. Until 2 nights ago, for 24 straight hours, I had a consistent razor blade level, pain in my stomach, couldn't lie flat, blah, blah, blah. I went to the ER, doctors pressed my belly, said it was soft, gave me Somnac, acid blocker, and sent me home. And long story short, he asked Grok, and they went through the whole pattern he was describing. Grok basically told him, so go back now and ask for a CT. He copied the symptoms and reasoning, walked back to the ER, told them, this is what I'm experiencing, this is what I think is serious, and I want a CT. They did it, and the appendix was inflamed and close to rupturing. 6-hour surgery later, it's out. Pain is 100% gone. I woke up laughing about anesthesia. I'm alive and healed because an AI recognized the pattern when the first exam missed. And because I had the exact words to make them take seriously the second time. Now, that doesn't mean the AI is all-knowing, all-powerful, all this. It's a researcher. Imagine if research is on steroids, Google on steroids. So you type it in something, tell me how to do blah. Google right now will just give you a bunch of links. This thing will take all the links from anything that's on the web, put it together and figure it out for you. So like I used it to help fix sensusfidelium.com website. I couldn't edit it. And I told him what was going on, gave some screenshots, and it knew exactly what was going on. Did the same thing with my email because the emails were going to spam. Told me, go here, take this out, delete this, put this in here, and it works. Perfect. Done. That's all I need. Customer service guys usually can't pull that off. Trust me, I know. But it's not like, again, so what he did was pretty much go in, just like I did with the website. Hey, here's what the website looked like. Here's what's going on. How can I do anything better with it? And it'll go through the whole thing. He just went to it going, here's my symptoms. Here's what I'm experiencing. What do you got? And it's kind of like a WebMD went on a massive rage to figure out what it was. So, I mean, good on him to use the tools needed. Again, these AI is a great tool. Don't shut your brains off on that. Hey, doctors missed something. Someone else missed something. A lot of people can miss something about that. Researching wise, still is a good tool for researching. Not perfect, but a good research. And obviously, if this is a real story, it shows exactly that. Man, I need an energy drink right now. It's 11:18. Halfway done. After AI push, Trump administration is now looking at humanoid robots. 5 months after Trump's AI acceleration plan, his administration is now targeting humanoid robotics. Commerce Secretary and Human Lutnick met with robotics CEOs pledging full commitment to industry growth through a planned 2026 EO. The Commerce Department backs robotics to aid reshoring production, and the Transportation Department will announce a robotics working group by year's end. Hey, yay! Here's Brian McClanahan retweeting Dave Rubin. This is the way, because Rubin goes, Florida may have to secede from the union. Polymart, Democrats surge in midterm odds. 80% chance they take the House. And Rubin says, Florida may have to secede from the union. I'm like, now you're talking, baby. And as McClanahan says, this is the way. Yes, this is the way. New Hampshire getting ready to secede. Let's see, just because we're here. New Hampshire secession movement. Let's see what they have to say. I haven't looked at them in a while. There it is right here. New Hampshire secession movement. Last post was about a week ago. Democrats laundered $93 billion during the 76 days between when Trump was elected and Brandon was leaving. Okay. Okay, something in November. So they're still going strong. Going like a national force. It's not us, it's you. They're the one. These are the guys that came out with said that the top things about leaving would be, you getting your money back. Yeah, national divorce is where we go from here. And I'm slowly coming to terms with the horrifying fact that an absolutely massive group of people believe that it's appropriate response to speech if they disagree, which is murder. Yeah, national divorce. That's the way. It is the way to go. European Court of Justice has ruled that all EU nations must recognize same-sex marriages recorded in another member state, even if the domestic legislation does not allow it. And this is just the EU, European Union, is like the United States of America, in the sense that you got all these countries, all these states, nation states, Italy, Poland, Germany, France, blah, blah, you get it, all united in one centralized general government. Same thing, South Carolina, North Carolina, Vermont, all that. All individual nation states united to one centralized DC. Then it's the same thing. Red Fleet, staggeringly clear satellite photos show Chinese warship armada massing near Taiwan as invasion fear grows. Where am I at? Here, Charlie Kirk personally lobbied Trump against striking Iran. 6 months later, with Kirk gone, TPUSA is in the Pentagon propaganda room lobbying Trump to strike Iran again. There's Frontlines TPUSA, Iran's nuclear resumption. Almost 6 months after Operation Midnight Hammer, the Iranian president vowed to rebuild his nuclear facilities with greater strength. Our Monica Page asks Department of War for an update on its nuclear capabilities so far. They had to get him out of there. You really think that some 20-year-old did that? Yeah, they had to get it. They had to get him out of there for this. Money wasn't going to come in. Obama constantly used double tap strikes in the war on terror. He and Brennan would bomb a second time, moments after the first, to kill survivors, but also to kill first responders who arrived to help. Had long been deemed terrorism by the United States. There's U.S. drone bombs targets rescuers in Pakistan, and the West stays silent. In sports, LeBron James' scoring streak was older than the iPhone, and it ended with a pass. He failed to score at least 10 points in a game for the first time in nearly 19 years on Thursday. He had a chance. He dished it off for the actually win. And I think it was a game-winning basket. It was a big bucket. Here's the world's billionaire population surges to new record height. So you get more of this, and more of the middle class is going away. So you make it bigger on top and bigger on the bottom. Student burned alive after being tortured into handing over his cryptocurrency. Where was this at? This was in Vienna. Student was born alive in his father's Mercedes. Oh, Lord, won't you give me a Mercedes Benz? In Vienna was likely extorted for a large sum of money he held in cryptocurrency. Local authorities say 21-year-old originally from Ukraine was found in the back of his charred wreck under the bridge of Austrian capital last Wednesday. She's a liar and a con artist. Candace Owens roasted for a running scare from TPUSA's Charlie Kirk live stream. She brags she win. Now, I think that's wrong on what Times India said. Apparently, TPUSA wanted to fly her in for a live stream, and she was talking about doing an actual live stream in the same place that she's in, the live stream. I actually put a post out saying, hey, Candace, TPUSA, I'll host the thing, which that would be cool. I mean, I don't know. They definitely would do it. Here's University of Oklahoma instructor on leave after failing Bible-based essay asserting belief in multiple genders is demonic. A University of Oklahoma student got a 0 on her psychology essay for calling multiple genders a demonic lie, backed by Bible quotes instead of science facts. Now the instructor is on leave, and folks are raging about free speech versus facts in class. This shows how faith and modern views on gender are clashing hard in schools, forcing everyone to pick sides. But what if we are taught by kids what if we taught kids to think critically without labeling ideas as evil? That might actually build bridges. She said it was an online course. She said she got a perfect A on everything. She's just talking about standing up as a Christian. Here's the debate leading up to the vote centered around a single primary question. Why is every newborn vaccinated against a virus, hepatitis B, primarily transmitted through sexual conduct, needle sharing, and from an infected mother during birth? Every pregnant woman in the United States is screened for hepatitis B. Only 0.5% of births involve a mother who tests positive. Newborns do not engage in behaviors that spread the virus. And yet, for 34 years, every child in the United States has been expected to receive a Hep B shot on the first day of life. And he goes right here. The 200 now the hepatitis B vaccine has 250 micrograms of aluminum. The adult daily max is 50, 5 times the adult maximum you're going to inject the newborn with. Here's this is just common sense. Do you give a vaccine to an infant when you do not know for sure that the benefits will outweigh the harms? And of course, the answer is no. So yeah, more people are getting away from. Thanks be to God. Not enough, but still good. Court in Washington D.C. is currently allowing a squatter to occupy a woman's property for months after a squatter overstayed an Airbnb rental. Romero, the alleged squatter, also reported trying to push the homeowner off a ladder, tampered with cameras, and took the owner's name off the utilities. Why is this allowed? I don't understand how any of this allowed to happen. There's actually a group, I think it's in Kansas or Oklahoma or something. Or maybe it's Arizona. It's a group that goes after squatters. You call these guys up, they will go in the house. They'll do what people won't do now. They'll go in the house, take the guy girl, throw him out of the road. That's pretty much what it is. Cleveland Guardians, formerly the Indians, Pitchers indicted for scheme to rig bets on pitches thrown. 2 pitchers, Emmanuel Class and Luis Ortiz, were indicted on Sunday for their part of sports betting and money laundering conspiracy. The indictment alleges that Class and Ortiz took bribes to give bettors advance notice of the pitches they throw. Both players were placed on leave by MLB officials in July as the league conducted a gambling investigation. This is insane. I don't think they cuss, but I'm not going to play it. NFL player Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ, talked about the struggle of living on a 5-year, $100 million contract. He says it's nearly impossible to build generational wealth that has money. Yes, with spending on smart things, it's possible. Yeah, I run a family on about $5 to $6K a month in expenses, and we invest $4 to $5K a month for a decade and are building generational wealth. I don't own millions in liabilities like you do. He literally said that. And of course, when you spend, there's a documentary called Broke, and it's on how athletes go in and just blow all their money. And I think 21% of players that go in are bankrupt after 10 years. Because you hear about these guys, they like example here. Guy bought Christian McCaffrey bought a $20 million mansion on Lake Norman. And then he gets traded. How you sell that thing? So now you buy another one. There's a guy that pitches for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Lives in Cramerton here. He goes to the same gym I go to. I haven't met the guy, but I talk to the boss all the time. And he was saying, yeah, he multi-million-dollar contract. He lives in just a regular home in Cramerton. These guys buy homes, $1 million homes for their moms, cars for their moms, then has an entourage, and then they talk about how taxes get taken out. They spend money like it's going out of style. Give me $100 million. I guarantee we'll be able to create some generational wealth with that. And you'll never know I even have it. Yeah, I saw this today. I had to do it. Our president, among other dollar store Trump branded trinkets, there's a Trump watch, likely a $50 watch made in China and reselling for $500. Christmas coming up. Trump voters payment plans available. GetTrumpWatches.com. It's a real thing. Here's the website. President Trump's Red Beauty. Limited edition. Free U.S. shipping. Feature watches. Fight silver. The fight red. The holiday bundle. Yeah, this is real stuff. At the bottom of it, it talked about it. Well, does it have it on here? Trump Watches on Earth LLC uses the Trump name, image, and likeness under a paid license agreement, which may be terminated or revoked according to terms. Not for investment processes. Here's something funny. Man returns to his car, and this is not funny, but it's funny, to find a $20 bill and a note from someone who hit him, then discovers the damage. Probably like, what's going on here? Oh, my whole right side of the car is gone. He got $20 out of it, though. And this day in history, December 5th, 1484, witchcraft condemned by Pope Innocent VIII. Innocent VIII condemned witchcraft this day in 1484 via paper bull. Subsequently, he dispatched inquisitors through Germany to try witches and persecute the chief opponent of resistance Platonianism, Giovanni Pica della Mirandola. 2017, the IOC banned Russia because of all Russia stuff. 2013, Nelson Mandela, who helped end South Africa's apartheid system, died at age 95. 2012, Brazilian architect Oscar Niemeyer died at age 104. 2006, Fujian military leader Frank we'll just say Frank, became acting president of the island country following a coup. 1955, the American Federation of Labor Congress of Industrial Organizations, AFL-CIO, became a unified body of autonomous labor unions with George Meany as his first president. 1952, a lethal smog blanketed London, bringing the city to a near standstill and causing thousands of deaths. That's when you put a muzzle on. 1947, Joe Louis defended his heavyweight boxing title against challenger Jersey Joe Walcott in New York City. New York City. Yep, New York City. He beat Joe Louis's butt. Utah became the 36th state to ratify the 21st Amendment, repealing prohibition. 1890, director Fritz Lang, whose films dealing with fate and men's inevitable working out of his destiny, was born in Vienna. 1872, the American ship Mary Celeste was found abandoned some 400 nautical miles from the Azores, Portugal. The fate of the 10 people aboard remains a mystery. 1848, in his annual message to Congress, U.S. President James K. Polk confirmed the discovery of gold in California, helping to spark the gold rush, which brought an estimated 300,000 people to the territory. 1839, U.S. Cavalry officer George Armstrong Custer, who distinguished himself during the Civil War and later led his men to death in the Battle of Little Bighorn, was born in New Romney, Ohio. 1791, Austrian composer Mozart died in Vienna at age 35. 1784, Phyllis Wheatley, the first Black woman to become a poet of note in these United States, died in Boston. 1782, Martin Van Buren, who served as the 8th president of the U.S., was one of the founders of the Democratic Party, was born in Kinderhook, New York. He was actually a solid president. You don't know much about him because he didn't do unconstitutional things. He didn't he didn't do stuff how they do make sure who's the best president ever is on how much they do, which usually means that they are failing as their role. 1757, in his greatest victory, Prussian King Frederick II the Great defeated the Austrians at Lethene during the 7 Years' War. I wonder how long that lasted. Anyways, have a great rest of the day. God bless all you guys for checking in and hanging out here. Have a great rest of the night, a great weekend. Happy St. Nicholas Day tomorrow. Have something. Hey, you Catholics, it's St. Nicholas Day. Santa Claus. Do something for your kids tomorrow. One, make the kids get their slippers out. Put something, even if they don't know about it, you do that now. Get something, put slippers out there, put some kind of good gold coin, candy, present, make a trinket up. I don't know, do something. It's St. Nicholas Day. Do something for it. We can celebrate that. It's okay. And then we got, my wife's birthday's on Sunday. So saying Hail Mary for her birthday. And then the next day is the Immaculate Conception. Because it comes on a Monday, it's probably not a holy day of obligation. If we play by the rules, what I think this is what they're going to say, but it's a fun week. Immaculate Conception on Monday. Do something for that. Have some fun. Have some party. Go to Mass, obviously. Shoot some fireworks off if you got any. Obviously, Guadalupe is on the 12th next week. St. Lucy's the 13th, that Saturday. Maybe put some lights up for St. Lucy Day. Get in the spirit. You don't have to go all out on that Christmas stuff on that yet, but put some lights out, the candles or something for St. Lucy, just to play with the live the liturgical calendar, right? It definitely be penitential. It is Advent. It's not Christmas, but St. Lucy Day, put some lights up or something. Candles, I don't know, whatever you want to do. Have a great rest of the night. See you on Monday for Black Pill Monday and Feast of the Immaculate Conception. Anyways, have a great weekend. Talk to you later. God bless all y'all. Oh, yeah, forgot. Hit the like, subscribe, all that jazz underneath the show notes. Check out sensusfidelium.com. For the website. Sensusfidelium.press for books. I got a deal going out. I think 30% type Advent for 30% off the entire store. Obviously, sensusfidelium.tv is the app. There you go. You got everything. I love you. Have a great rest of the night. Good night. And thank you.